Yeah, so welcome back. I just forgot to do the recording also. I have just on the recording right now, and I'll just share the screen 2 minutes. So many experiments are left out from your end, Shravan. Okay. So in our module 3, we just started with respect to the screw thread and the gear measurements. So where we dealt about what you mean by a screw thread, and then we went on with the screw thread terminologies, right? So what is external thread, internal thread, axis of a thread, right? Then various parts, the root, the crest, the flank of the thread, the angle of the thread. So all these you need to write systematically with a proper diagram. So then also we dealt in depth related to what you mean by lead angle, helix angle, depth of thread, axial thickness, what do you mean by addendum, dedendum, right? Major diameter, minor diameter. So effective diameter, it is very important in case of screw thread terminology. So we also dealt about what you mean by the effective diameter, which is also called as our pitch diameter. So how to measure it as well, right? And then we dealt about various measuring elements of screw thread. So the main out of the terminologies, only these are the key elements what we will be measuring. So the measuring elements here are, you can see, major diameter, minor diameter, effective diameter, pitch, flank angle, and the thread form. So we have the measuring instruments to measure all these elements. Okay, so we used different measuring instruments, one by ordinary micrometer, another one by the bench micrometer also. So how we will measure the elements of an given screw thread. Okay, so also then we set about using ordinary micrometer, how we calculate the effective diameter, right? And this was the instrument what we used in order to measure. So this one method is the bench micrometer. And later, after this, we dealt with measurement of minor diameter also. So for measurement of minor diameter, we used two methods. One is the 2V piece method, and other one was the by projecting the thread on the screen. So these are the two methods which are used to measure the minor diameter of external threads. Similarly, we had two measuring instruments to measure the minor diameter of internal threads. So those were using taper parallels and by using rollers and slip gauges, right? So then we dealt about the descriptive of how an 2V piece method works in order to determine the minor diameter. So we also derived an equation where that will be equal to D plus or minus R1 minus R2. And then we went on to determine the minor diameter by using projecting thread on a screen. So using directly on the microscope, you will project the screen of the thread and determine the minor diameter value. And later, the other method for yes. So for measuring minor diameter of internal thread, so we will be using taper parallels. So where the internal threads could be measured. So we dealt about this also. And one more method was to measure the internal thread was using rollers and our slip gauges. So this also we dealt. And then we came across to measure our pitch measurement. So pitch measurement, we came across how to measure this by using three type of measuring instruments. One is pitch measuring machine, tool maker's microscope, and the screw pitch gauge. So these were the three instruments what we can use to measure the pitch measurements. And we also dealt about how does these instruments work on, right? And then we came across toolmaker's microscope. So usually they keep on asking this question on toolmaker's microscope. So you see that you draw the entire sketch neatly and do the naming of all the parts. So I have shown you the two pictorial views of toolmaker's microscope. So you can use either of the one for explanation. So the second one will provide you a clear picture how it works also. So this is just the specimen diagram of toolmaker's microscope, the first one what I showed you. So this shows actual working. So it's better if you figure out with the second diagram for toolmaker's microscope, right? And I showed you a question where it was asked to draw a neat sketch, explain the construction, the working principle, and applications also. So you have to write the subheading as construction, and you have to explain how a toolmaker's microscope is constructed. After explaining the construction part, then only you will show how it will be working. So I've explained you both the construction part as well as the working part. So you will explain then the working part of an toolmaker's microscope. And then the last method was screw pitch gauge. So this is how the screw pitch gauge looks like to. So we are calculating pitch. So the last method is the screw pitch gauge. So in this also we can determine the pitch of the given thread by using respective gauges. So you have the number written on the gauge here. So you can identify which you can select to measure the pitch of the given screw. Okay, screw thread. And then the flank angle. So how to measure the flank angle? So the flank angle you can just, you can see it just looks like a protractor. So you have a protractor arm. So you can just clamp to one side of the thread here. So that will be your reference angle. And then again, you'll swap out the protractor arm to the other side of the thread here. And then the difference between the angle what you are getting will help you in determining the flank angle. So even this we have explained. So then it comes about for measurement of the effective diameter. So how you measure the effective diameter of the given screw thread. So here we dealt about like two methods. One is the thread micrometer method, another one is the wire method, right? So thread micrometer we dealt like how does it look like, how you fix the spindle uh, in and the anvil in between the given screw thread, and how do you determine the pitch diameter. So similarly, if they ask you, you need to draw the screw thread. How does it look? Show the clamping position for the spindle and the anvil, and show from where to where, from crest here. How do you determine the pitch diameter? Okay, and also the value of the equation for the pitch, which is d minus 0.6403 times of p. So this you have to show. So usually asked methods for determining the effective diameter in the examination are, it could be one wire, two wire, and three wire method. So we have dealt about all the three methods to determine the pitch diameter. So you can draw the sketch exactly for the type of method being asked, and then you have to brief out the entire derivation for one wire method. Usually they ask two wire method. So please show the screw thread gauge, which is the effective diameter where you are placing the wire, right? So then show the all the terminologies and then start explaining what are each terms. So what do you mean by effective diameter, right? So you please explain the terminologies what you are using, and finally show the value of the pitch diameter what you are determining. So this is entirely for two wire method. So once two wire method is done, so then also we dealt about the three wire methods. So how you will place the three wires in the given screw thread to determine the pitch diameter, right? Or the effective diameter. So this also we dealt about. So you have to show the sketch and the position of the wire with in between the teeth, so that it helps in showing you the flank angle, the pitch value, right? And the half value of all those things, height of the pitch, everything. So you have to show each and every terminologies, and then you should start deriving, and you should explain what are the terms you are using. Okay, then you should start deriving the equation and finally come to the end value for effective diameter or the pitch diameters. And in some paper, they have asked us about the best wire size, right? So that was for 6 or 7 marks. So if they ask you for best wire size, please draw the sketch first as shown here in the screen. Okay, then you will start describing how do you get the best wire dimension. Okay, so then we are having a optical projection, like why we use an optical projection to measure the flank angle. So what is the need of it? What do you mean by half thread angle, right? So all those things you have to explain. An optical projection, how does it look like and how you determine the angle, flank angle. So then this is the part of our screw thread, and later we dealt about our just a second, I'm just sharing. Those who haven't written the name and USN number in the chat room yet, kindly add on. I'm just sharing one more presentation. Yeah, is the screen visible? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So related to this gear measurements, then so this was the outer agenda, what we studied about, like what do you mean by gears, what are involute gears, cycloidal gear, right? Involute form. Then we went on with respect to gear runout, errors associated in gear, and measurement of gear runout. So all those things we covered about. I think this is half, yeah. So we dealt about what is the advantages of, I think the other section is just a second. I have shared half the way, I hope so. Yeah, that was another slide. 2 seconds. That is the same. Right, so we dealt with gear measurements. So basically, we spoke about what do you mean by gear, its classifications, the advantages of involute gears, right? And then we spoke about what you mean by the involute form. So how it will be inspected. So involute form inspections we dealt, and also we studied about what do you mean by gear run out? So what we have to do when a gear run out occurs. So we dealt about it and how to evaluate the errors in Spurget. So many types of errors will come up across. So it could be gear blank run out, it could be gear tooth profile errors, it could be gear tooth errors, it could be pitch errors, it could be run out errors, lead errors, and assembly errors. So how you will overcome the errors associated in the gear. And we also had a discussion about classification of errors, of how it comes, like, so it depends upon the form errors and the location errors. So you can get the errors with respect to location and with respect to the form of the gear tooth what you are using. So with respect to the location errors, usually you will come across only two types of errors. One is the pitch error and the run out error. But with respect to the gear tooth form, so you will come across the profile errors as well as the lead errors. So we also dealt about how to overcome these profile errors and lead errors, pitch errors, run out errors, right? So this mainly you have to focus on the pitch errors. So which, suppose if you can get the errors, it could be either due to the single pitch error or accumulated pitch error. And run out is mainly on the run out things which come across when there is an motion transfer. And similarly, we came across the form errors. So it could be either the profile or the lead error. So under the profile error, again, we dealt about three categories. So hope you remember all. So profile form error, it was total profile error, it was profile slope error, right? So this was related to the form of the gear tooth what you're obtaining. So where you'll get the deviation in the given profile of the tooth itself. So that other part was the lead error. So in this we had lead form error, total lead error, and lead slope error also. So these are the part which we dealt about already related to the errors which come across in a geometry of an given gear. So then we dealt about exactly how to overcome these gear blank run out errors, gear tooth profile errors. So run out errors is nothing but the run out of the pitch circle. So gear tooth error is an error in the form of the tooth thickness what you're measuring. Gear tooth profile error, so if you come across any deviation from the actual tooth profile, so then you will come across the gear tooth profile errors. And similarly, gear blank run out errors, so if you have radial run out in the outer diameter surface of the given gear, so then you come across this gear blank run out errors. So we dealt about all these, and we just also discussed related to the pitch errors, like what will be the measurement of overcoming the pitch error. So it could be a single pitch error or an accumulated pitch error. So how do you measure the single pitch error and how do you measure the actual pitch error? So what do you mean by lead error? So if you have any deviation from the actual advance of the gear tooth profile, with respect to its ideal position, then we usually get the lead errors. So we dealt about all these classifications. Then similarly, how you had in screw thread terminologies, here also we have the key elements which will be measured in case of gear tooth also. So which are the elements usually we have to measure? So these are nothing but the run out, the pitch, the profile, the lead, the backlash, and the tooth thickness. So we studied about how to measure the run out, right? So we used two instruments for the measurement of the pitch, so which were pitch measuring instrument and pitch checking instrument. So how does a measurement of pitch takes place in case of pitch measuring instrument and pitch checking instrument? So we also dealt about what is the limitation also related to measurement of pitch using pitch measuring instrument. Then we went on with respect to pitch checking instrument, how does it work and what are its limitations. So then the other instrument was the gear roller tester. So we used gear roller tester instrument also to measure the gear elements. Okay, so gear roller tester. So one of the example of the instrument what we use in gear roller tester is our famous Parkinson gear tester. So which reveals any error associated in the tooth form or in the pitch or in the this one concentricity of the pitch circle. So all these three parameters could be measured by using Parkinson gear tester. So all these we dealt about, and then we came across composite gear composite testing of the gears. So which are the two checking types we used here is one is the total composite variation, and what was the other one? It was tooth to tooth composite variation. So we use these two types of varieties for composite testing of the gears. So also we described about how does an Parkinson gear tester looks like, what are the parts associated with. Okay, so all these we studied about gear measuring instrument. But usually in the uh, examination, one question will be default either the screw thread terminology or the spur gear, right? The tool maker's microscope. So these are frequently asked questions, but we cannot always keep on relying only on those questions. So other questions can also be shooted up. So I just want to share the syllabus for you, which are the other possibilities. Just a second. Where is the syllabus? Yeah. Right. So this is a syllabus. So where we have two sections. One is the measurement of the screw thread and gear. Another one is the gear tooth measurements. Right. So anything related to this could be asked. So we have dealt about the entire measurement devices which are used to measure the key elements of the gear. So anything could be asked here, right? So it could be the base tangent measure method or measurement of pitch, your concentricity, your run out, and even the involute profile. And lastly, the gear roller tester for composite error. Okay, so these are the part of gear tooth measurements. And previously, the other methods what we dealt about, the two wire, the three wire methods, it's usually for determining the effective diameter of our screw thread. So mainly asked question is related to the two wire and the three wire method and the tool maker's microscope, and sometimes the gear tooth terminology, the terminology of the screw thread. Similarly in gear tooth, so they can ask you the terminology of the spur gear, right? And sometimes the other key elements how to measure about. So what we currently discussed. So this is about our third module. So next in the class, we need to brush out related to module 2 and module 1. So that is done already as a revision part when we had the first internals. Since I have time, I can just brief out the syllabus part, what we have covered in module 2. So module 2, we had system of limits, fits, tolerance, and gauging. So we keenly dealt with all the definitions and terminologies related to tolerance, tolerance analysis, right? How we add and subtract the tolerance. What do you mean by interchangeability? And even in the question, they are frequently asking the interchangeability. What do you mean by interchangeability? So you should be thoroughly knowing about it. Okay, and how you classify the grades of tolerance. What do you mean by fits? The types of fits. We solve the problems on numericals on limits, fits, and tolerance also. Whole basis and shaft basis system. What do you mean by it? And what is the meaning of Taylor's principle? The types of limit gauges, and also we solve the problems on limit gauge design. So you have submitted the assignment also based on that. So you have to brush out related to the module 2. So we will be going in depth for brushing part in the next class related to module 2. So the next part was it related to the comparators. So in comparators we dealt what is the main application of comparators, why it is used, what are the functional requirements, how the comparators are classified, right? So under the classification we had mechanical comparators. Under that we studied about which was that Johnson Microcotter comparator, sigma comparators, dial indicator. Then we came across electrical comparators. Then we studied about our LVDT and what do you mean by pneumatic comparators? What is the principle behind operating pneumatic comparators? Then also we studied about the optical comparators also. So you can get the questions associated with the classification of comparators. Give an example as it has been asked in case of transducers, or else they can ask you to explain any specific type of comparators. So either of the any classification could be asked for a descriptive working principle with an neat sketch. So you should be able to answer any type of comparators which are being asked. Okay, so this is about the syllabus of module 2. So let me just share the question paper related to module 2. The PPT revision we will do it in the next class. I will just show you the pattern of the questions we do get. Just a second. So in the previous year paper, the module 2, so directly they have started asking what is meant by interchangeability. So you have to explain. It is for marks 6. What is meant by interchangeability and list out the advantages in interchangeability. So you should explain what you mean by interchangeability, why it is needed, what are its advantages for 6 marks. Okay, so then usually it's a common question they do ask on explain the whole basis or shaft basis system in detail. It is again for 6 marks. Kindly draw the sketch if it is asked for whole basis or shaft basis, the sketch for shaft basis, and explain in detail why it is being used. And then they have asked you to show the working of an dial indicator with an neat sketch. So please draw the sketch for the dial indicator, let it be readable and drawn little bit bigger, and then you explain it. Okay, how does it operate? So it is given for 6 marks, or else you usually get one problem on module 2. So you have another alternative question, so it is based on the numerical problem. Along with that, they have asked you in theory for 6 marks. So briefly explain the go gauge and no gauge. So please draw the sketch for go and no go gauge, and explain. Okay. So then they have also asked related to the tolerance. Define tolerance. Also explain the grades of tolerance which are being used. So you have to explain what you mean by tolerance. What are the grades of tolerance, when and how you will be using it. And you will be having one numerical. So you have a numerical here on the shaft design. So they have asked you to determine the dimension of the shaft and the hole for the given fit. So you have to see which fit has been given. So accordingly, you will take the values. Okay, so which grade for which it has been assigned, and you see the data which is associated with the question. So diameter 30 falls in the diameter range they have given already. Upper deviation for the shaft is also been mentioned. The value of I is given. The tolerance for IT8 is also given. for the whole basis, and tolerance for IT10 is given for the shaft basis. And always whole basis will be represented by capital letters and shaft by small letters. You know all this. Okay, no need for me to explain again. So by default, you'll be getting one numerical. So you should get prepared for solving the problems. So you'll be having one question related to theoretical thing, and other question you'll be having a part of numerical. It could be for 8 or 10 marks. In this pattern, they have asked you for 8 marks, the shaft basis design problem. Okay. So along with that, you have a theory part over here. So this is how the pattern for module 2 looks like, and in the last to last here paper also. So if we look about module 2, they have again asked you the principle of interchangeability and the selective assembly. So what is the principle behind? Previously it was only interchangeability and it was given for 6 marks to list out the advantages also. So now it has been given to ask the selective assembly along with the interchangeability. It is for marks of 8. So you, as per the marks given, you kindly explain only the principle behind this one, the interchangeability and the selective assembly process. And then they have asked you to explain the classification of fits with respect to the sketches. So explain all the types of fits with a neat diagram and explain. And lastly, they have asked you to explain Taylor's principle of for the gauge design. It is for 5 marks. So you can explain what is the Taylor principle associated with respect to our gauge design. So other option is here, instead of numerical, they have directly given the question on the comparators. So they have asked you define comparator, what is the need of a comparator. So you have to define what do you mean by comparator, why it is being used, what is the basic necessity of a comparator. For 5 marks, you should be able to justify the need of a comparator. And then again here with a neat sketch, this question is repeated. Explain the dial indicator working principle. What are its advantages? It is asked for 7 marks. Along with that, you have the third sub question asking you to sketch and explain the working of an LVDT process. So you should be able to draw the sketch, explain how an LVDT works like. So this is about the pattern of the questions which come across in our module 2. So brushing out with respect to the PPT, I will be doing it in the next class. So now if you have any doubts, you are free to ask me. Rishi, you're there? Rishi? Hello? Abhishek? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if you have any doubts, you are now free to ask me. We have just brushed out related to our question paper pattern and the module 3 related to our spur and the Gertrude terminologies. Okay, so in the next class, we'll be dealing with our module 2 brushing out.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, everyone has to give record their writing records. B1
Okay,
and B2 have
okay,
to give it to them,
okay.
so they didn't come.
Fine, fine.
Okay.
No, it was informed for you all to write today only, na?
For B1 and B2, ma'am. B3 tomorrow only we have to submit.
Yeah, B3 I've told you long before, so it is
Yeah,
for tomorrow.
yeah.
So please do it properly with neat things.
Yes,
Don't just scrap it out in hurry burry. So let it be neatly written
yes,
and then you submit it. Okay.
yes.
Yeah, fine then. I hope you have written your name and USA number.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine then. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.